Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the January 19th, 2022 Worcester Township Board of Supervisors work session. Would you please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance? My name is Rick DiLello. I'm the chairman of the board. I will dispense with introductions to the rest of our team, as I think everybody knows everybody. First item on our agenda is informational items. Does anybody have any informational items for the board tonight?
Yes, this evening's meeting is being video recorded for rebroadcast. Also, following the work session and/or following the business meeting, the board will meet in executive session on the following matters. First, a matter of potential litigation, in specific, the consideration of zoning hearing board 21-17 Williamson. Second, a matter of land acquisition, in specific, the potential purchase of a property which is west of Valley Forge Road. Third, a matter of land acquisition, in specific, the acquisition of a property which is likewise west of Valley Forge Road. And lastly, a matter of potential litigation, in specific, consideration regarding the award of a bid.
Thank you, Tommy. Next item on our agenda is public comment. We do ask that you limit the public comment to 5 minutes. Does anybody have any public comment for the board this evening? Seeing none, we'll move on. Tonight we have a presentation. It's going to be a classroom in the park project, and Stacy's going to take us through, I think, a short presentation, and then we're going to discuss as needed.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. At a previous meeting earlier this year, the township approved us submitting a grant application for the Greenways, Trails, and Recreation Program for a community classroom or classroom in the park project in Heebner Park. We requested $250,000, and we were, in order to put this community classroom, which would be located in the township complex area right outside the township building near the basketball courts, where there's currently a sand mound. The building would be a modular 40 by 50 building that would be approximately 2,000 square feet. It would offer an area to hold different recreation programs and special events for all ages. The building would have restroom facilities and a small kitchen area. Besides the recreation programs and special events, this building could be rented and used by community partners like the school district, sports organizations, and other groups for meetings or events. Currently, the township has limited ability to offer recreation programs and special events during bad weather or colder months. In addition to the rentals and recreation, the building could also serve as an additional facility option for meetings for the township, or if something happened to one of our other facilities, it could be utilized as temporary office space as well. So as you're aware, unfortunately, the building and supply costs have gone up, and they're very high. And instead of getting $250,000 for it, we only were awarded $125,000. So we gathered the most recent cost estimate for the site work and the construction and delivery of the module building, and the total cost for this project is going to be $415,495. With the grant award, the total estimated cost that the township would have to fund is $290,495. Originally, the match, we thought when we got $250,000, and before the cost went crazy, it was about $95,000 that the match was. So this is significantly higher. After speaking with our township engineer, there really isn't an option for us to reduce the scope of a building. I mean, I did it in my previous job when we did a full park. You can phase that stuff in, but when you're talking about a building, the building is the size appropriate, and we don't want to build something like this and already, be too small. So there really isn't any way for us to reduce the scope. We looked into other vendors through CoStars, and we really don't believe there's going to be many options that are going to be significantly lower in cost. So we're kind of up against a deadline with the grant. We'd have to sign it by, I think, tomorrow if we're going to go and go along with this. If not, we're going to have to let them know that we can't proceed if we don't think we have the funds in order to proceed with this project. So tonight I'm just trying to ask the board, you know, what they'd like to do, because it is almost $200,000 more than we originally thought, so.
Thank you, Stacy. In terms of the facility itself, I did see we're at the end of the day, the 40 by 50 size. It's sort of, as you said, it's right-sized for what the intended use was. Is there any, do we have any sense of what type of revenue possibilities exist for it, or is it more just sort of enhancing our offerings to the community relative to what we have today for this type of structure?
I mean, with a building like this and with a kitchen facility and restrooms and everything, I mean, you could look to gain some revenue if you, say, wanted to rent it out for people to have, you know, parties in there. So there could be significant, you know, money there. I know in my previous job, we did do like party rentals of our, that was a community center, but it's the same kind of sense we could do with this. So that's an option. It does require a little bit more staffing and work on our end. But you could make it neutral so that, you know, kind of like we do with almost everything else we do. We make sure it's kind of revenue neutral and that the people who are taking care of it are paying for it. So there's options there for that kind of stuff. There's also options for people to rent it for meetings and different, kind of like they would rent this building, same kind of thing. I don't have a sense of exactly how much revenue we would get from that, but we have quite a few people that wrote letters of support, like Meadowwood and a couple of our other recreation partners that have written support letters for this.
So in terms of, I'd say that the revenue potential is modest, I guess is how I might articulate that there might be a few dollars there, but it's more probably in terms of just what, being able to utilize the facility in a more meaningful way for the community. In terms of the grant itself, is this, I know some of the cycles with grants, you know, there's an every year cycle sort of thing. Was this sort of a unique type of grant offering that rolled out there? And is there any window into whether it would cycle back around? I'm always surprised when we get underfunded. We typically do, when we either get nothing or what we asked for. This seemed to be somewhere in the middle.
Well, this program is a yearly program. However, this has been the trend with this program. They've been trending to not give us exactly what we asked for. That I've noticed that in the last, like, I would say 2-3 years. So the only concern you have is if you don't accept the grant now, there's a chance they may not fund it again. So there's always that option. It's not to say it won't happen. If we explain, it's because we only received half of what we, you know, thought we would get. But it's just, that's also, there's a risk with that as well.
Gotcha. Steve or Lou, questions or comments or thoughts?
I don't believe construction costs are going down. I think it's one of these, they got you. If you want the money, you do it now. Because if you say no, you're not going to get it, kind of. I mean, that's kind of how the presentation's, I'm understanding it, but
okay.
I think you just move forward. How's that?
Okay.
Seeing the name, you know, Classroom in the Park, maybe we could look for maybe someone in the community like naming rights. If we had someone like a retired principal or something that would like the classroom named after them.
So the Steve Quigley Community Center, is that what I'm hearing? Is that
I'm not a retired principal.
Or the Bert Hines Memorial?
It's a great idea. Rick, I hate to pay the extra money, but I think it's something. We have a lot of groups in the township always looking for space to rent something. You know, it seems to have a small kitchen in the back. As Lou mentioned, if we don't take the money now, it may not be there.
Right.
It's something that the community can, and another asset we have that asset that the people in the community could really utilize between teams in the wintertime, having meetings or having sign-ups, registrations, and things like that. There's a number of different things you can be used for, plus, you know, the classroom in the park. I'd really like to see us work somehow in conjunction with the folks at Meadowood. It's always been a great resource of people there that you bring some of those people in to do speaking series. A lot of those people were business people, very successful business people over there. It's a wealth of knowledge, and I think if they can interact somehow, going to Meadowood sometimes it's not, you're not able to accomplish that, but if we bring those people in to network, and I think it has a lot of positive points, except for the price,
Right.
Which is a problem, but I really personally hate spending the extra money. I'm not sure if anything go up, but you know, once it's gone, the free money, so I'd have to.
Right. And I think what I'm hearing from both of you is that we want to take the free money while it's there, because it's still free money, even though the price tag has adjusted itself accordingly. There's definitely, and it was certainly a neat program, I thought, when we were talking about it earlier in the year in terms of applying for the grant and the different things. So I mean, I think we're unanimous in that it's something we'd like to move forward with. Is there some action that is required of us, Tommy? I mean, I know we typically don't vote in our work sessions for these sorts of things, or is it just sort of say, hey, push forward, and we're supportive of that?
Yeah, no action is required.
Okay. So I think we're saying we're all on board with doing that and cringing at spending a little more money, but looking for a good outcome nonetheless. Okay. Okay. All right. So moving forward, is there anybody who has any other business they wish to bring before the board as it relates to our work session this evening? Okay. Seeing none, moving to public comment. Does anybody have any public comment for the board for our work session? Seeing none, motion to adjourn.